Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling, a really fascinating and super detailed set of sources. Is mainly from a forum thread called Optimizing Fat Loss and Muscle Preservation, Tirzepatide plus Oxandrolone plus TRT plus protein and exercise. But we've also got supporting discussions, clinical data, the whole nine yards. Our mission for you is to unpack this pretty comprehensive protocol. We want to pull out the key nuggets, how these different pieces supposedly work together for serious fat loss while, and this is a tricky part, holding on to muscle, maybe even building some. Expect some aha moments, hopefully, and some really specific actionable stuff.
Yeah, it's quite something. What's striking is how these sources map out this multi-pronged attack. It goes way beyond just, eat less, move more. They're aiming for a very specific kind of body recomposition. So yeah, we'll be looking at the drugs, the nutrition strategies, the training, all of it.
Okay, let's dive right in then. The core idea. The sources kind of give you the highlights up front. Gradual tirzepatide increase, low dose oxandrolone, physiologic TRT, high protein, daily creatine, and structured resistance training. So in this deep dive, we'll break down each one, not just the what, but really the why behind it. #I, the role of pharmacological agents. Right, let's start with maybe the biggest one here, tirzepatide. It's described as a GLP-1 GIP dual agonist. What is that exactly, and what's its main job in this whole setup?
Okay, so tirzepatide is interesting because it hits both GLP-1 and GIP receptors, not just one. That creates this, powerful synergy. The GLP-1 part that helps suppress appetite slows down how fast your stomach empties, so you feel fuller.
Yeah.
But the GIP part, that seems to enhance fat metabolism more directly. So together, this dual action seems to lead to, superior fat loss compared to single agonist drugs.
And the sources really hammer home its ability to zero in on fat while preserving lean mass. That's the holy grail, right? What clinical evidence do they point to beyond just forum talk?
Well, they definitely lean on the clinical trials.
Yeah.
Some show tirzepatide leading to pretty substantial fat loss, like up to 20% body weight reduction in some cases. But the really compelling bit they cite is the SURMOUNT-1 trials DXA substudy.
DXA, that's the body composition scan.
Exactly. Dual energy X-ray absorptiometry.
Mm-hmm.
Very precise. And in that substudy, participants lost about 33.9% fat mass, but only 10.9% lean mass over 72 weeks.
Wow. Okay, so nearly 3/4 of the weight lost was fat.
Yeah, about 74-75%. And the sources note this is way better than older meds like semaglutide. With semaglutide, it was often less than 60% fat loss and sometimes like 40-45% lean mass loss.
Ouch.
Yeah, so preserving that metabolically active tissue, that muscle, while in a deficit, that's huge. It's a game changer for recomposition, really.
Okay, and the protocol insists on gradual titration, slowly increasing the dose. Why is that so important? For results and just being able to, tolerate.
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. The sources really stress starting low, typically 2.5 milligrams subcutaneously once a week. Then you slowly ramp up over weeks, maybe 5 megs weekly, weeks 5 to 8, then 7.5 to 10 megs, weeks 9 to 12, and then maybe 10 to 15 for maintenance. This slow pace, it massively improves GI tolerability.
Ah, the side effects.
Exactly. Minimizes the nausea, the early fullness, constipation, diarrhea, all that stuff that makes people quit. It also means progress is steady. You avoid those sudden, huge calorie drops that can just shred muscle.
So it's really about making it sustainable, right? So you can actually stick with it long enough to see results.
Precisely. Slow titration means better adherence, fewer people dropping out. That allows for continuous therapy, maximal fat loss, and, long-term success. And they also mention, crucially, pairing it with resistance training and high protein. Those help shield the muscle too.
Okay, so tirzepatide handles a lot of the fat loss heavy lifting. But losing fat without losing muscle in a deficit is still incredibly hard. That seems to be where oxandrolone or Anavar comes in. What's its specific job?
Right. Oxandrolone is presented here as a synthetic oral anabolic steroid. Its key property, according to these sources, is being strongly muscle-sparing, especially when you're restricting calories. They say it directly stimulates net muscle protein synthesis.
Meaning it tells your body to build or keep muscle?
Essentially, yes.
Right.
It helps preserve or maybe even slightly increase lean mass, even when you're not eating enough calories to theoretically support that. So it pushes the body to burn fat preferentially while protecting the muscle you have.
Now, anabolic steroid, that term definitely makes people pay attention, maybe not always in a good way. How do the sources frame its use here? And what about the dose, the duration, the safety warnings? Those seem critical.
That's a really important point. They're quite specific. The protocol suggests a low dose 23.5 milligrams per day orally with breakfast. And here's the crucial part. A strict duration limit, no more than 12 weeks straight, followed by a mandatory 4-week break, a drug holiday. Why? Primarily to reduce the risk of messing up your cholesterol level specifically, lowering HDL, the good cholesterol, that's dyslipidemia. And another critical point they make, like any anabolic steroid, it will shut down your own natural testosterone production, which is why they strongly recommend using it alongside TRT to keep your overall T levels in a healthy range.
Okay, so if someone is using it, what kind of monitoring is absolutely essential?
Regular blood tests are non-negotiable. Checking ALT and AST, those are key liver enzymes, and also LDL and HDL cholesterol. The advice is clear. Pause the oxandrolone if liver enzymes shoot up significantly, or if HDL drops below 30 milligrams per deciliter.
Got it. And you mentioned TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. Your sources seem to cover this in detail too. For men using this protocol, how does keeping TRT in the normal physiologic range fit in?
TRT plays a vital role, especially when kept in that physiologic sweet spot, say 500 to 900 nanograms per deciliter total testosterone. See, being in a calorie deficit can actually lower your natural testosterone levels.
Right.
So TRT helps counteract that. It prevents muscle breakdown or catabolism, and it directly supports muscle protein synthesis, the building process. The sources cite randomized trials showing physiologic TRT helps increase or at least preserve lean body mass while also helping fat loss during that energy deficit. Plus, there are the other benefits. Better energy, faster recovery from workouts, maybe more motivation to train hard.
Makes sense. And what about monitoring for TRT itself? Any specific calories there?
Yeah, the standard stuff mainly. Monitoring your complete blood count, the CBC, specifically looking for erythrocytosis.
That's too many red blood cells.
Exactly. They aim for a hematocrit level below 54%. And for men over 40, monitoring PSA levels is also recommended.
Okay. Now, the sources seem to hint, or maybe state outright, that using oxandrolone and TRT together has a kind of synergy, more than just the sum of their parts. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, they definitely propose an additive, maybe even synergistic effect. The claim is that combining low-dose oxandrolone with physiologic TRT significantly amplifies muscle retention, especially, and this is key, when you combine it with that high-protein diet and consistent full-body resistance training we talked about.
So the idea is you can push the fat loss harder.
That seems to be the suggestion, that this combo allows for more aggressive fat loss without sacrificing muscle and strength disproportionately, which could be particularly relevant for, say, older men or anyone at risk for sarcopenia, that age-related muscle loss. But again, safety is paramount. It all hinges on careful dosing, sticking to those oxandrolone holidays, and regular lab monitoring. You have to watch out for those potential side effects: liver stress, messed up lipids, high hematocrit, #2, essential nutritional and supplemental support.
Okay, so we've covered the pharma side. Let's shift gears to what's arguably the foundation, right? Diet and supplements. The sources put a massive emphasis on protein and creatine. Let's unpack that layer.
Absolutely foundational. The sources are crystal clear on protein. It's non-negotiable for keeping muscle, especially when you're cutting calories. It provides the essential amino acids, the building blocks for muscle protein synthesis, and it actively helps prevent muscle breakdown.
So how much are we talking? What are the specific numbers they recommend?
They recommend a high intake, at least 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight per day, maybe up to 2.2 grams per kilogram per day.
That's quite a bit higher than the standard RDA.
Oh yeah, significantly higher. And they suggest aiming for that higher end, the 2.2 kilogram, if you're in a really aggressive deficit or if you're a more advanced lifter. And bonus, protein also helps a lot with feeling full, satiety, regulating appetite, which is obviously super helpful when calories are low.
Right. And creatine, we hear a lot about it for muscle building generally, but what's its specific role here in this fat loss, muscle preservation context?
Creatine's role here, at the recommended 5 grams daily dose, is mainly about energy for your workouts. It boosts phosphocreatine in your muscles. That provides quick energy, ATP, for high-intensity bursts.
Like lifting heavy weights.
Exactly. So it helps you maintain the quality and intensity of your training sessions. And maintaining that training stimulus is absolutely critical for telling your body to hold on to muscle when calories are scarce. While it does help promote lean mass gains generally, the sources kind of emphasize its benefit here is really tied to enabling that hard training during a cut. They also mention its strong safety profile, no kidney issues in healthy folks usually, though they still recommend routine checks of creatinine levels just to be safe. So when you put protein and creatine together,
you get the building blocks and the energy.
That's the idea. Protein provides the materials, creatine fuels the intense work needed to signal muscle preservation. The sources really highlight this combo as maximizing your chances of retaining muscle when the risk of losing it is highest, like in a steep deficit. Hashtag TACCheck33, training prescription.
Okay, so we have the drugs helping, the nutrition dialed in,
Sorry.
but you still got to do the work, right? The sources detail a pretty specific training plan. What does that actually look like? Exercises, frequency, that sort of thing.
Yeah, the work is essential. The protocol emphasizes full body resistance training, hitting everything 3 to 4 days a week. Each workout should include 3 to 4 sets of 6 to 10 reps for your big compound exercise.
Like squats, deadlifts, presses.
Exactly, the multi-joint lifts, and then maybe 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps for smaller accessory exercises. They even give sample weekly splits, like Monday, squat, bench press, barbell row, Wednesday, deadlift, overhead press, pull-ups, Friday, maybe front squats, incline dumbbell press, Romanian deadlifts. The focus on those heavy compounds and trying to get stronger progressive overload isn't just for strength gains. It's the most potent signal you can send your body to keep muscle mass, even when it wants to get rid of it because calories are low.
So you can't just coast in the gym, even with all the other support.
Absolutely not. Progression is key. The sources explicitly say you need to aim to increase the weight or the reps week after week, even if progress is slow during a cut. They also cite evidence that hitting each muscle group 2 or 3 times per week, like in a full body split, is better for muscle retention and growth than hitting everything just once a week.
Makes sense. What about cardio? Does that fit in, or is it all about the weights?
Cardio has a supporting role. They recommend maybe 2 brisk walks or light cycling sessions on your off days, just to help nudge the fat loss along. They also suggest aiming for something like over 6,500 steps per day. Using a step counter app can help track that, keep the metabolism ticking over. Hashtag TACHAB5E. Monitoring, safety, and side effect mitigation.
Okay, this whole thing, it sounds incredibly comprehensive and frankly quite intense.
Yeah.
So what do the sources say about staying safe, monitoring everything? Because there are a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah, safety and monitoring are woven throughout the discussion. It's not taken lightly. They detail a pretty rigorous monitoring schedule, starting at baseline before you even begin. They recommend a full workup. CBC, CMP, that's the comprehensive metabolic panel, checking liver enzymes like ALTAST, kidney function via creatinine,
Okay.
lipid panel, A1C for blood sugar, fasting insulin and glucose, full testosterone panel, total T, free T, SHBG, PSA for men over 40, and basic vitals like blood pressure and heart rate. This is all just to establish where you're starting from and make sure there aren't any hidden issues or contraindications.
It's quite a baseline and ongoing.
Then, every 3 months or so, they advise repeating the fasting, CBC, CMP, lipid panel, and total and free T. This is crucial for catching potential problems early, like that erythrocytosis from TRT, or rising liver enzymes, or the cholesterol issues from oxandrolone. And what's really quite advanced, they recommend whole-body DXA scans.
Again with the DXA.
Yeah, at baseline, then again at 6 months and 12 months, this gives you super precise tracking of changes in fat mass, lean mass, even bone density over time. Much better than just the scale.
And are there specific red flags, like if labs go out of whack, what's the plan?
Yes, very clear escalation criteria. For instance, if your liver enzymes, ALTAST, go more than 3 times the upper limit of normal, or if LDL cholesterol goes above 160, or HDL drops below 30, or your hematocrit hits 54% or more. There are specific instructions, like pause the oxandrolone immediately if HDL tanks below 30. Or if you're getting bad GI side effects from tirzepatide, the first step is to slow down that titration or even reduce the dose temporarily.
Or it's not just push through.
Okay.
And what about managing the more common, maybe less severe side effects people might run into?
They offer practical tips for those too. For the tirzepatide GI upset, nausea, etc., they suggest things like smaller, low-fat meals, maybe trying ginger, staying really well hydrated, possibly using ondansetron if needed.
That's an anti-nausea med.
Correct. For the potential liver stress with oxandrolone, avoiding alcohol is number 1. They mention NAC might be considered, but note it's not definitively proven to help in this specific context. For cholesterol issues, maybe adding high-dose omega-3 fish oil, like 3 to 4 grams of EPA plus DHA daily, or potentially statins if LDL stays high despite other measures. The high red blood cell count from TRT. That can often be managed by lowering the TRT dose slightly, or by therapeutic phlebotomy, basically, donating blood regularly.
Okay.
And even for creatine, if someone experiences bloating, they suggest splitting the daily 5G dose and making sure you're drinking plenty of water, like over 3 liters a day. Hashtag TAG FEE, exit strategy and long-term maintenance.
This sounds like a very structured, maybe temporary, intense phase. So, what happens after? What's the long game? How do the sources talk about maintaining the results or maybe winding down some of these interventions? Is there an exit strategy?
Yes, absolutely. They don't just leave you hanging after the intense phase. There's a clear focus on sustainability. For tirzepatide, once you hit your goal body fat percentage, or maybe after about a year, the suggestion is to taper down. Either find the lowest effective dose that helps maintain your weight, or maybe switch to a less frequent maintenance GLP-1 schedule just to prevent that rebound weight gain. Oxandrolone is definitely positioned as temporary.
Right, with those mandatory breaks.
Exactly. The recommendation is to reserve it for potential future short-term recomposition phases, maybe 8 to 12 weeks at a time, and always with at least an 8-week washout period in between cycles. It's not meant for continuous long-term use. But crucially, some elements are presented as basically indefinite foundations.
Like what?
Well, the TRT, if clinically indicated, of course, the daily creatine, maintaining a high-quality protein-rich diet, and definitely the consistent resistance training. Those are framed as long-term pillars for maintaining metabolic health and your physique well beyond the initial transformation phase. #outro.
Wow, okay. So you've just had a really deep dive into a very specific, very detailed protocol, pulled from these forum discussions and clinical data, all aimed at optimizing body recomposition. It really highlights this complex interplay between pharmaceuticals, supplements, nutrition, and hard training. It's clearly a comprehensive approach, prioritizing both serious fat loss and that crucial goal of muscle preservation.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. And it really brings us to a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to reflect on. How might understanding a protocol like this, medically supervised, highly structured, targeting specific physiological pathways, how might that inform or even change your perspective on what's truly involved in achieving really profound and hopefully sustainable physical transformations?